I am in for Johannes today. He's traveling with family, so we got me today. He asked me to step in, fill in. I was glad to do it. And with what we're going to do is we're going to continue on our study of our ongoing study of Ezekiel. And let's pick up in chapter 34. I'm just going to read through the chapter. I seriously doubt we're going to get through all of it today. I really don't believe that. Halfway maybe, but we'll just see how far we get. We'll take it from the top and see how far we get.
Are we in Ezekiel or Jeremiah?
Ezekiel.
Okay.
34. 3:4. And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel, and prophesy and say to them, Thus says Yahweh Adonai unto the shepherds, Woe unto the shepherds of Israel who feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flocks? You eat the fat, and clothe yourselves with the wool. But you slaughter the fatlings, and you do not feed the flock. The weak you have not strengthened, nor have you healed those who were sick, nor bound up the broken, nor brought back what was driven away, nor sought what was lost, but with force and cruelty you have ruled over them. So they were scattered because there was no shepherd, and they became food for all the beasts of the field when they were scattered. My sheep wandered off through all the mountains and over every high hill. Yes, my flock was scattered over the whole face of the earth, and no one was seeking or searching for them. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of Yahweh. As I live, says the sovereign Yahweh, surely because of my flock became a prey, and my flock became food for every beast of the field, and because there was no shepherd, nor did my shepherds search for my flock, but the shepherds fed themselves, and they did not feed my flock. Therefore, O shepherds, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus says Adonai Yahweh, Behold, I am against the shepherds, and I will require my flock at their hand, and I will cause them to cease feeding the sheep. All the shepherds shall feed themselves no more. For I will deliver my flock from their mouths, that they may be no longer food for them. Thus says Adonai Yahweh. Verse 11, Indeed, I myself will search for my sheep, and I will seek them out. As the shepherd seeks out his flock on the day he is coming among his scattered sheep, so I will seek out my sheep, and I will deliver them from all the places which they were scattered on the cloudy and dark day. And I will bring them out from the peoples and gather them from the countries, and will bring them out to their own land. I will feed them on the mountains of Israel, and in the valleys and all the inhabited places of the country. I will feed them in good pasture, and their fold shall be high on the mountains of Israel. They will lie down in a good fold and feed in rich pasture on the mountains of Israel. I will feed my flock and make them lie down, says Adonai Yahweh. And I will seek what was lost and bring back what was driven away. Bind up the broken and strengthen what was sick. But I will destroy the fat and the strong and feed them in judgment. But as for you, O my flock, says Yahweh, behold, I will judge between the sheep, and between the rams and the goats. Is it too little for you to have eaten up the good pasture that you must tread down with your feet the residue of your pasture, and to have drunk the clear waters that you must foul with the residue of your feet? As for my flock, they eat what you have trampled under with your feet, and they drink what you have fouled with your feet. Therefore says Adonai Yahweh to them, Behold, I myself will judge between them, between the fat and the lean sheep. Because you have pushed with side and shoulder, butted all the weak ones with your horns, and scattered them abroad. Therefore I will save my flock, and they shall no longer be a prey. and I will judge between sheep and sheep. I will establish one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, my servant David. He shall feed them and be their shepherd. And I, Yahweh, will be their Elohim, and my servant David a prince amongst them. And I, Yahweh, have spoken. I will make a covenant of peace with them, and cause wild beasts to cease from the land. And they will dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the woods. I will make them and all the places all around my hill a blessing, and I will cause showers to come down in their season. There shall be showers of blessing. Then the trees of the field shall yield their fruit, and the earth shall yield her increase. And they shall be safe in their land. And they shall know that I am Yahweh when I have broken the bands of their yoke and delivered them from the hand of those who enslaved them. They shall no longer be a prey for the nations, nor the beasts of the land which devour them, but they shall dwell safely. They shall dwell safely, and no one shall make them afraid. And I will raise up for them a garden of renown. They shall no longer be consumed with hunger in the ground and the land, nor bear the shame of the Gentiles any more. Thus they shall know that I, Yahweh, their Elohim, am with them, and they, the house of Israel, are my people, says Yahweh Adonai. And you are my flock, the flock of my pasture, and you are men, and I am your Elohim, says Adonai Yahweh. Okay, now this, as y'all may have figured, this is probably going to sound more like a study than a true sermon. I got some notes. I got some notes and stuff written down here. But anyone have any question or comment about what we've just read? Anybody? All you got to do is get your hand up. I'll call on you. Anyone? Okay, Tom, then Tina.
We read that Messiah grieved over what was happening in Israel and his earthly ministry. He looked about and he saw very much in fulfilling probably what he thought to convey to Ezekiel, pre-incarnate, that they were like sheep without a shepherd, just forlorn and lost, even to the point where elsewhere you read that he would leave the 99 and go out for just one lost sheep. Very touching, tender, intimate connection, and put that lost sheep on his shoulders to bring him back to the sheepcote or the sheepfold. So no wonder he was looking about when he saw all the abuse that's prophetically described there in that account in Ezekiel.
Tina?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing what Tom was mentioning. The word that stuck out was lost to me as well, because the way that the good shepherd, that's his job. Like you say, he's going after that one lost sheep. And it goes to that comment that was made earlier in the study about how there are people who coming out of, churchianity, Christianity, places where these, so-called shepherds were supposed to teach the people, and they end up being lost. And, just like for us, we all come out of that. And, now we've been found by the Father, by the Son, Yahshua. And that is the point, is that's what Yahshua does. He finds the lost sheep. And this lines straight up with John chapter 10, where he talks about the good shepherd. And I just thought that word lost was just sticking out so much there. And I think that's something to take account of.
Okay, Raquel?
Yeah, what stood out to me is, like in 17, I shall judge between sheep and sheep, right? And the other one, also in 22, it says judge between sheep, and we're used to hearing sheeps and goats, right? So I think about the judgment comes first to the house of Yah, right? That's in 1 Peter 4:17. For the time has come for judgment to begin at the house
Yes.
of Yah. And if it begins with us
You are
first,
correct.
what will be the end of those who do not obey the gospel?
That's exactly what that means, because the judgment will start at the house of Yahweh. That is correct.
That's it. There you go, Rick.
That was pretty much my findings.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Larry?
Yeah, because it's very pointed in verse 2, and it says, thus says Yahweh to the shepherds, woe to the shepherds of Israel who feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flocks? You eat the fat and clothe yourselves with wool. You kill the fat ones, but you do not feed the flock. You have not made the weak strong, nor have you healed the sick, nor have you bound up the broken. You have not brought again those who were driven away, nor have you sought with that which was lost, but you have ruled them with force and with cruelty. And so when we think about this, just as Raquel pointed out, the house, Yahweh will bring judgment first to his house, okay? And those who claim to be those shepherds. We need to remember there's only one shepherd that trains us and teaches us. There's only one minister who ministers to us, and that's Yeshua. He is the great one that Yahweh has sent to do this. And we have to look at these scriptures and say, okay, what are shepherds doing? Because if you look in Titus, okay, as well as in Timothy, there's a very clear scriptural guideline scripturally about what people should do if they're going to be leaders within a community or an assembly, of what they should do in order to help the brethren. There's scriptural guidelines. And when you look at those scriptural guidelines, you can see how the nation of Israel had failed with those who claimed to be worshiping Yahweh and who were leading his people, but again, they were taking advantage of it. So it's very important if we have any type of responsibility with what we do, we have to look and say, well, we don't want to be these kind of shepherds that Yahweh is coming against. We want to be those who feed the flock. We want to be those who make the weak strong, and there's some very scriptural things that are brought out here. Those who are bound, we want to break those bindings. Those who are brokenhearted, we want to lift them up. We should never cause any type of situation in anybody's life that would cause problems.
Very good, Larry. Now, could anyone, I got a few examples here, but can anybody think of some examples in Scripture of the shepherds acting this way? Kathy.
Eli and his sons.
Eli and his sons, very good. Let's go there. That's in 1 Samuel 2. That is in 1 Samuel 2. Eli and his sons. Let's pick this up in verse 12. Now the sons of Eli were corrupt, and they did not know Yahweh. And the priest's custom with the people was that when a man would offer a sacrifice, the priest's servant would come with a three-pronged flesh hook in his hand while the meat was boiling. And then he would thrust it into the pan, or the kettle, or the cauldron, or the pot, and the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. So they did in Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. And also before they burned the fat, the priest's servants would come and say to the man who sacrificed, "Give me meat for roasting to the priest, for he will not take it boiled meat from you, but only raw." And if the man said to him, "Shouldn't they really burn the fat first, and then you may take as much as your heart desires?" He would then answer them, "No, give it to me now, hand it over right now, and if you don't, I'll take it by force." Therefore, the sin of the young man was very great before Yahweh, for men abhorred the offering of Yahweh. These are offerings people were coming, and they were coming to abhor them on account. Now, this makes a problem. Why are people abhorring the offering of Yahweh? Remember, this is the offering of Yahweh. They're offering different offerings and sacrifices, the peace offering, amongst other ones. It's because of their conduct. The conduct of Eli and his boys.
Because it was being corrupted.
Because they were corrupted it. That's correct. Because their abominations are detailed. Well, it's kind of spelled out fast forward here. But why was this so abhorrent unto Yahweh? Because it went against the prescribed method. He told a sacrifice and an offering was to be done. And that's spelled out in the first 6 or 7 chapters of Leviticus. For instance, I forgot to write this one down, but it just kind of came to me. But when we would thrust a 3-prong hook into the meat that was being boiled, what's wrong with that?
It's called greed.
It's greed. That's the motive.
Was it supposed to be boiled?
Oh, boiling was fine for certain offerings and sacrifices, yes. The law prescribed a 2-prong hook, not 3.
Oh. Oh.
That way when he hooked it in there with the 3-prong, it would bring up more meat for him.
Oh.
Oh!
I didn't know.
And then the man bringing the sacrifice would get what little might be left.
The scraps.
The scraps. Thank you, Tom. He got the scraps. He would stick a 3-pronged fork in there, pull out the prime, all the good. He would get all the good choice stuff for himself, and what scraps fell off.
What's the reference in the Torah?
Okay, that's a fair question, Kathy. Let's turn back to Leviticus.
Okay.
Let me put my eyes back on so I can see. Let's turn back to Leviticus. I believe that's Leviticus 3. Okay, now this wasn't so pertinent to the grain offering so much, but let's try the peace offering. Leviticus chapter 3, verse 1. When his offering is a sacrifice of a peace offering, and if he offers it out of the herd, whether male or female, he shall offer it without blemish before Yahweh. And he shall lay his hand on the head of his peace offering, and shall kill it at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. And Aaron's sons, the priest, shall sprinkle the blood all around the altar. And he shall offer from the sacrifice of the peace offering an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, that the fat covers the entrails and all the fat that is on the entrails, the 2 kidneys and the fat that is on them by the flanks, and the fatty lobe attached to the liver above the kidneys, he shall remove. And Aaron's on his son shall burn it on the altar upon the burnt, and Aaron's sons shall burn it on the altar upon the burnt sacrifice, which is on the wood that is on the fire, as an offering made by sweet aroma to Yahweh. So yes, the man bringing a sacrifice saying, shouldn't we burn the fat first?
I was talking about the prong.
Yeah, even the rest of, yeah. So he was correct, but he said, no, just hand it over. Okay, and if he offers a lamb, let's just keep reading here. And if he offers a lamb as his offering, then he shall offer it before Yahweh. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the offering and kill it before the tabernacle of meeting. And Aaron's son shall sprinkle its blood around the altar. And he shall offer from the sacrifice of the peace offering made by fire to Yahweh, and its fat and the whole fat tail, which he shall remove close to the backbone, and the fat that remains on the entrails, and all the fat that is on the entrails, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them by the flanks, and the fatty lobe attached to the liver above the kidneys, he shall remove. Then the priest shall burn them on the altar as food, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. And if his offering is a goat, then he shall offer it before Yahweh. He shall lay his hand on his head, kill it before the tabernacle of meeting, and the sons of Aaron shall sprinkle its blood on around the altar. And he shall offer it from his offering, and as an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. The fat that covers the entrails and the fat that is on the entrails, the 2 kidneys and the fat that is on them by the flanks, and the flatty lobe attached to the liver above the kidneys, he shall remove. Sounds like you had to be a pretty skilled butcher to be a priest. Make these kind of offerings. So they learned the art of being a butcher and grilling too. The priest shall burn them on the altar as food and as an offering made by fire for a sweet aroma. And the fat is Yahweh's. It's a perpetual statute for all your generations, and all your generations you shall eat neither fat nor blood, because the fat and the blood belonged unto Yahweh. And okay, to help answer Kathy's question, can someone please look up the fork for the sacrifices? Yes, please, someone look that up. I believe we're going to find that. Yeah, go ahead and cook. Yeah, okay, thank you. I believe you're going to find it most likely in Exodus concerning all the accoutrements for the altar and the tabernacle and all that. Thank you. Back to 1 Samuel. Dropping down to verse 22. Now Levi was very old, and he heard everything his sons did to all of Israel, on how they lay with the women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. And he said to them, it went from bad to worse with these boys. So he said to them, why do you do these things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all the people. No, my sons, it is not a good report that I hear. You make Yahweh's people transgress. And if one man sins against another, Elohim will judge him. But if a man sins against Yahweh, well, who will intercede for him? Nevertheless, they did not heed the voice of their father, because Yahweh desired to kill them. They had no room in them for the word of Yahweh. So Yahweh decides on a death penalty. And the child Samuel grew in nature, verse 26, both in favor with Yahweh and with men. Then a man of Yahweh came to Eli and said, Thus says Yahweh, did I not clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Egypt and in Pharaoh's house? Did I not choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest and to offer upon my altar to burn incense, to wear an ephod before me? Now I did not give the house of your father to all the offerings of your children made by fire? Why do you kick at my sacrifice and my offering, which I have commanded my dwelling place, and honor with more sons than me, to make yourselves fat with all the best of the offerings of my people Israel? There's nothing good to say. This goes from bad to worse. And eventually, before said and done, it's prophesied that he will die. He and his household will die. So that's one good example right there. How about anyone else having any thoughts right? Okay, Tino, what do you got?
I was just reading this note down here in the study Bible, and it was talking about to the point of this Eli's sons laying with the women. And it says that these immortal acts of Levi's son were not unlike the fertility rites of the Canaanite sanctuaries. Those would be found in 1 Kings 14:24, 15:12, and 22:46. It says these shocking abominations discreted not only Yahweh's house in Deuteronomy 23:17 and 18, but also the house of Eli. And it took an anonymous man, holy man, to bring it to Eli's attention to pronounce Yahweh's sentence against Eli's family. So yeah, I guess it shows that they were doing a whole lot of abominations in what they were seeing from the Canaanite people, and those things that Yahweh hated clearly. So Eli evidently didn't stop him.
He did nothing to stop them.
To his sons, which he should have, and that's what cost him his life as well.
That's correct. It's like we read Ezekiel 8 of all the abominations done in the temple later on. Doesn't sound too far removed from that, does it? That's where they were going eventually. And what did it cause the people to do? They abhorred Yahweh's sacrifice. When people began to abhor Yahweh's sacrifice, Yahweh broke his silence. Anyone else have any thoughts or ideas? Of other applications, yes, in Scripture of how about these irresponsible shepherds.
Didn't Samuel's son do the same? Didn't they?
Samuel's sons, yeah, they weren't, well, yeah. Samuel's sons were not deemed fit to rule Israel either. As he grew old,
Aaron's first two sons.
Aaron's first two sons, yeah, you're correct. Aaron's first two sons. Well, let's take a look at Aaron's first two sons. I don't have that one in my notes, but let's take a look at it. Let's go to Leviticus 10. I'll just read it from the top. Then Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his censer and put fire in it, and offered profane fire before Yahweh, which he had not commanded them. So the fire went out from Yahweh and devoured them, and they died before Yahweh. So fire breaks out, kills the boys, and Moses said to Aaron, "This is what Yahweh spoke to." And he said, "Okay, let's take this from the top, Aaron. By those who come near me, I must be regarded as holy, and before all the people, I must be glorified." So Aaron held his peace. And let's drop down to verse 8. Let's drop down to verse 8 and read a few verses there. Then Yahweh spoke to Aaron, saying, "Do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you, nor your sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of meeting, lest you die." Because Yahweh's not wasting his words here. We're getting an insight on exactly what happened here. This is Yahweh speaking to Aaron. "It shall be a statute forever that throughout your generations, that you may distinguish between the holy and the unholy, the clean and the unclean, that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahweh has spoken to them by the hand of Moses." So question, were these sons of Aaron, and it's intoxication, could it be physical intoxication through wine, or could it be spiritual intoxication, or could it be both? Could they have been intoxicated in more ways than one? We had that case with Eli and his boys. Anyone have any question or comment, or maybe another application? Okay, first Raquel, then Tom.
Yeah, so, I mean, what we studied in Matthew, right? The Pharisees, the Sadducees.
Oh, that's right.
What was that?
It said
She
Pharisees
said
and
she's-
Sadducees.
That's right. I had that in my notes too. Let's just do
Because
it.
your voice is going that way.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yeah, you're a little soft-spoken. Tom can't hear. It's Matthew 23. That's conduct of the scribes and the Pharisees.
Oh, okay.
Let's spend a minute or two there, shall we? Matthew 23. Matthew 23. I'm just going to take it from the top. We'll cover this more thoroughly when we get there in our ongoing study of Matthew. Then Yahshua spoke to the multitudes and to his disciples, and he said, "The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Whatever they tell you, to do, tell you to observe, do that, and do, but don't do according to their works, for they say and they do not do. Don't follow their example. Don't do what they do. For we just read about this in Ezekiel. Now here we go again. For they lay heavy burdens, hard to bear, and they lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their own fingers. But all their works they do to be seen by men. And they make their phylacteries broad and enlarge in the borders of their garments. Remember the account of the parable where Joshua used to explain the difference between the Pharisee and the tax collector? How the tax collector confessed his sins before Yahweh, and he went home justified. But what did the Pharisee do? He bragged about how great he was. Well, I got these extra big long phylacteries, and I tithe of all the mint and cumin and everything else, or cumin, that of everything I receive. I give an exact tenth. Let's see, what else do I do? Oh yeah, I strain my water. And what else do I do? Let's see. Let me talk about my goodness some more. I know. How about I fast twice a week? And all this other stuff about how wonderful he thought he was. But Yahweh did not even hear, Joshua taught that the Father did not even hear his prayer. Yes, John.
The sad thing is he glorified himself. He didn't humble himself.
That's right.
There you go.
That is right.
If you keep reading, they like titles.
Oh yeah, we're going to keep reading in another minute or two in Matthew 23. We're going to do that right now.
They love titles.
Well, their works they do to be seen by man. See, verse 6. They love the best places to feast and the best seats in the synagogues. And greetings in the marketplaces and be called by men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But do not be called Rabbi, for one is your teacher, the Messiah, from whom you are all brethren. And do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your Father, the one who is in heaven. So it would seem that this modern day practice of the Catholic Church of men calling the priest Father, it's nothing new about it, is it? Wonder where they got it. Because he's not prophesying about some great religion in the future deceiving the world here. He's talking about an extant practice at that time. And the practice was to call Rabbi Father. Let's see, verse 10. Do not be called teacher, for one is your teacher, the Messiah. But he who is greatest amongst you shall be your servant. And whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Just like the reference we discussed a moment ago about the tax collector and the Pharisee. But what do you scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites? You shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in yourselves, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in. So it wasn't enough that they weren't going in. They were trying to stop people from going in as well. Woe to you, you scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! For you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense you make long prayers. Therefore you will receive the greater condemnation. So they would devour a widow's house to receive whatever offerings unto themselves, and then for a showcase they would make this huge long prayer. This Pharisee's prayer is getting worse and worse. One guy we referred to a moment ago. But let's just see. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! For you travel land and sea to win one proselyte, and when he is won, you make him twice as much the son of hell as yourselves. I'll refer you to John 8. We won't go through a long reading there, but I'll refer you to John 8 on that one. That gives a lot more detail there. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, whoever swells by the temple, well, it's nothing. But whoever swears by that gold of the temple, well, he's obliged to perform it. He swore by the gold. What's wrong with that statement? Well, Yahshua's saying something here. He says, "You fools, you blinds, for which is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold?" But when it's talking about that, what's further wrong with their words? Well, don't the words we speak generally come from the heart? So what's on their heart? It's not the praise and glory of Yahweh. It's the gold. It's the riches. And if you swore on that gold, you were obligated to perform your oath. Whoever swears by the altar, it's nothing. But whoever swears by the gift on it, well, he's obligated to perform it. Fools and blind, which is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and then all things on it. He who swears by the temple swears by it and him who dwells in it. And who was it that was dwelling in it? Kind of wonder. He who swears by heaven swears by the throne of Yahweh and by him who sits on it. Woe to you, you scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, but yet you've neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. These you ought to have done without leaving the other undone. Blind guides cast out a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe to you, you scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! For you cleanse the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside they are full of extortion and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first cleanse the inside of the cup and dish, that the outside of them may become clean as well. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like whitewashed tombs, which appear to be beautiful outwardly, but inside they are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness. Even so, you outwardly appear righteous to men, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. This is inside. It's on their hearts. It's hypocrisy and lawlessness. And say, if we lived back in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Therefore you are witnesses against yourselves, verse 31, that you are the sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then. Go ahead, fill up. Drink it up. Eat it up. Fill up the measure of your father's guilt. You serpents and brood of vipers, how can you escape the condemnation of hell? Therefore, indeed, I send you prophets, wise men, scribes. And some of them you will kill and crucify. Some of them you will scourge in your own synagogues and persecute from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Assuredly, I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often have I wanted to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you are not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate. For I say to you, you shall see me no more until you say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. That's not a very good record for these guys, is it? And I got another one in my notes here. This one's I found this one kind of interesting. Can we please turn to Malachi 2? Another little Malachi 2. We're going to pick it up in verse 1. It's about corrupt priests. I found this interesting as well. I thought it provided a very interesting parallel to what we're reading here in Ezekiel. Malachi 2, verse 1. And now, O priest, this commandment is for you, if you will not hear, and if you will not take it to heart, to give glory unto my name, says Yahweh of hosts. And I will send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. And yes, I have cursed them already, because you do not take it to heart. This pattern continues. These people take nothing to heart. From the time of Eli, to the time of Malachi, and even to the time of Messiah. Behold, I will rebuke your descendants and spread refuse on your faces, the refuse of your solemn feast. One will take you away with it. Then you shall know that I have sent this commandment to you, that my covenant with Levi may continue, says Yahweh of hosts. What's the covenant of Levi? The promise of priesthood. When Levi was chosen over the rest of the firstborn of Israel, over the incident of the golden calf. My covenant was with him, one of life and peace. And I gave him that, and I gave it to him that he might fear me. So he feared me and was reverent before my name. Started out good. The law of truth was in his mouth, and injustice was not found upon his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity, and he turned many away from iniquity. Can anyone think of an example of a priest or a son of a priest that did such a thing? Anyone think of an example of a priest who'd done that? What we just read here. He turned people from iniquity. How about Phinehas, the son of Aaron? He got so angry with a guy when the plague was going through the camp. He got angry. He got angry with the man over the women of Baal Peor. He followed them in his tent and killed them both. And Yahweh blessed him for it.
From the tribe of Simeon?
No,
From the tribe of Simeon?
I believe the tribe of the other fellow was from Simeon. Yes.
And a Midianite?
And he had the Midianite. You're correct. Yes, Tom.
He was so impressed, Yahweh, with what Pinchas or Phineas did, that he promised him a remarkable promise, that he would have a continuum of a covenant of peace in his life. That's a rarity. I'm trying to think where else that's promised in Scripture prior to what we have in the New Covenant era. But that was him trying to guard the other children of Israel from a plague that was sure to proliferate.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Let's keep reading in Malachi. This gets interesting. For the lips of a priest, verse 7, should keep knowledge, and the people should seek the law from his mouth. Because here in a little bit, we're also going to do some modern day applications. The lips of a priest should keep knowledge, and the people should seek the law from his mouth. For the messenger of Yahweh, he is the messenger of Yahweh of hosts. But you have departed from the way. You have caused many to stumble at the law. And you have corrupted the covenant of Levi, says Yahweh of hosts. Well, who would do such a thing? We're going to find out. We'll just keep reading. We'll find out who Yahweh holds responsible for this. Therefore, verse 9, I have made you contemptible and base before all people, because you have not kept my ways, and you have shown partiality in the law. But have we not all one Father, and has not one mighty one created us all? So why do we deal treacherously with one another? By profaning the covenant of our fathers. Judah, here we go. He's getting straight to the point of who he's holding responsible. Judah has dealt treacherously, and an abomination has been committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. For Judah has profaned Yahweh's holy institution, which he loves. He's holding Judah responsible for this. He has married the daughter of a foreign Elohim. May Yahweh cut off from the tents of Jacob the man that does this, being awake and aware. And yet who does bring an offering to Yahweh of hosts? Now what the children of Israel did during the Exodus, was physical adultery, was spiritual adultery, but now they're going, but these people here, they're repeating the same mistake. They're making themselves a deal. They're, if you will, a marriage with all the mighty, with all the false beings that the nations around them worship. We read a great deal about this in Jeremiah 44. It goes into a lot of detail about that, about what they were doing in the temple in Ezekiel chapter 8. So anyone else have any questions or comments? Maybe someone else can think of another application from Scripture. Okay, Tom, I figured you would.
Well, simply because, and I've been repetitive, probably brought this up several times, but it seems to me bears repeating that in the 10th chapter of the Apostle John, Messiah Yahshua is saying that he is the good shepherd. All that were before him were thieves, robbers, and yet mainstream Christianity and teaching I've heard in the faith for 51, 52 years is when it says the thief comes but to rob and kill and destroy, they're saying that's describing the devil. Now he's behind that, but the very context there for someone who's honest with the Scripture is talking about those that are just hired hands that will not lay down their lives for the sheep. They're merely hirelings, not like Yahshua, who for all of us has laid down his life that he would have sheep in his pasture. Psalm 100, we are his people and the sheep of his pasture,
Right.
he proclaims. So here's this, to me, to use the word dead here, giveaway, that those that are not properly shepherding, they don't want to acknowledge that they may be the ones that unwittingly even have ended up killing and destroying, robbing from the sheep. The very prophecy even going to in Ezekiel, the 34th chapter.
That's right. But after all, we've all learned our lesson by now, right?
I'm afraid so.
Afraid not, huh? Well, you mean there's no more worthless shepherds today? People leading the flock astray? Getting the best? Turn on, oh, Bob, come on, details. Bob, yes, just turn on the TV. I know, because I found another article this past week I wanted to share today, and I ran off and forgot. I left it on a printer. I found this article about the richest pastors in America. The 25 richest pastors in America. And they are,
Osteen?
he's on the list. He's on the list, yes. Kathy, you're correct. Joel Osteen is on the list, and there's a few of...
Cash flow dollar.
Cash flow, yeah. Yeah, I heard him mention, some guy named Cash Flow Dollar, yeah. I think he's number one on the list. Yeah, and what do these people do? And there's another fellow on there, and I can't remember his name, but he was one of the big leaders in this. Remember the crash and burn the felled rapture from last year? Remember that? Yeah, last year there was this big movement going all over social media, and a lot of the churches about the pre-trib rapture was supposed to happen right before the Feast of Tabernacles last September. Now we got some few heads nodding. Okay, y'all remember now. That's right. They were making money, cash over, just hand over fist. They were making these, printing and writing what they called, I forget the exact name of it, but it was rapture ready book. How to make yourself rapture ready. Well, rapture come and went, or the time came and went, nothing happened. But yet, these people are right back at it. Because now, we'll start with, because the Rapture Ready book that was on sale for a regular price for $29.99 is now, you can now get it for $19.99 if you're inclined. I'm not kidding, Bob.
I got it.
But now they're later. Sometime this spring, they're supposed to publish what they're calling a Rapture Ready Bible study Bible. Yeah, make it or the Rapture Ready Study Bible. It's slated to come out sometime this spring. These same people are right back at it. And but you know what's so strange about it? Or not so strange, actually? Anyone want to take a guess? People are going for it all over again.
Nothing new under the sun.
I'm thinking we had a warning about false prophets, about how to handle a false prophet. I'm thinking of some Deuteronomy 13. Let's go there. Deuteronomy 13 comes to mind. No, was that 18 I'm thinking of?
It's an 18, but it's
18.
it's much stronger.
I don't know.
than 13. Verse 5.
Let's
I find
see.
it fascinating that even
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, okay. I'm looking across the wrong side of the page. No wonder I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I was looking across. Okay, I was looking across. Okay, it is 2:13. I was looking across the wrong side of the page. That's why I did not see it.
Where are we going then?
Deuteronomy 13:1.
13:1.
If there arises, we're going to read the first three verses on there. See, let's pick it up. Deuteronomy 13, verse 1. If there arise amongst you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign of wonder comes to pass of which he spoke to you, saying, well, let's go and worship after other Elohim, which we have not known. Let's go serve them. You shall not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer of dreams, for Yahweh your Elohim is testing you to know whether or not you love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and all your soul. And you shall walk after Yahweh your Elohim, and you will fear him and keep his commandments and obey his voice and serve him and hold fast unto him. But verse 5, if that prophet or dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has spoken in order to turn you away from Yahweh your Elohim, and brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you from the house of bondage, to entice you from the way in which Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you to walk, so you shall put away the evil from your midst. If your brother, son of your mother, your son or your daughter, the wife of your bosom, or the friend who is in your own soul, secretly entices you, saying, come, let's go worship these other Elohims that we ain't known yet. Neither you nor your fathers nor the mighty ones of the people which are all around you, near and far from you, from one end of the earth to the other. You shall not consent to listen to him, nor will you pity him, nor shall you spare him or conceal him. It means you don't hide him out. But you shall surely kill him, and your hand shall be the first to put him to death. And the stone which and you shall stone him with stones until he dies, because he sought to entice you away from Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. So we get false prophets come up. They give a sign. It's either to follow either false Elohim or the sign, this amazing sign, one doesn't come to pass. He's a false prophet. We don't listen to them. We're to disregard them. Now today we can't take them out and stone them, or lynch them or anything else, but we can put them out. They can be put out of an assembly. We're supposed to cut them off. It has nothing to do with these people. That's what we're left with today. Because I don't think the Dallas County Sheriff would be too friendly with us if we went out and killed us a false prophet. Let's read a little passage out of Deuteronomy 18. Let's pick it up in verse 15. Yahweh your Elohim will raise up for you a prophet like me from your midst and from your brethren, and him you will listen, or you shall hear, according to all you desired of Yahweh your Elohim in Horeb, the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, nor let me see with this great fire any more, lest I die. And Yahweh said to me, well, what they have spoken is good, and I will raise up for them a prophet like you from amongst their brethren, and I will put all my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him. And it shall be that whoever will not listen to my words, which he speaks in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet, here we go, verse 20. Here we go about these modern day rapture boys, pre-trib rapture boys. But if the prophet presumes to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other Elohim, the prophet shall die. If you say in your heart, well, how shall we know if Yahweh has spoken? Well, when the prophet speaks in the name of Yahweh, if the thing does not happen or come to pass, the thing which Yahweh has not spoken, that prophet has spoken it presumptuously, and you will not be afraid of him. But the guy with the rapture books, that's Dr. What's his name? I still can't remember that fellow's name. But that's Dr. What's his name up there. You know, he's got all these PhDs from this, that, and some other seminary, and he's writing rapture books, and he's got masters and doctorates from all these seminaries, and you think you know more than what he does, cowboy? Well, I know better than what he's trying to tell me. I'll phrase my thought that way. And so do all the rest of y'all. If you hear my voice, y'all do too. So I'm not any smarter than the rest of you. So these worthless shepherds. As we go through Scripture, as we found all examples about these worthless shepherds, and examples, scriptural examples we found about it, and a couple of modern day applications. It's pretty much the same. They're still worthless, aren't they? Larry, you had your hand up?
Yes, sir, just a couple scriptures.
Go ahead, feel free.
I'm looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 1.
Okay, go ahead.
And it says, who will also strengthen you to the end that you may be unimpeachable in the day of our Master Yeshua. Then in verse 10 it says, now I exhort you, brethren, by the name of Yeshua, our Master, that you all speak the same thing, that there be no divisions among you, rather that you be knit together in the same mind and for the same judgment. For my brethren, it has been declared to me concerning you by those of the house of Chloe that there are contentions among you. And this was such an issue in the first century. We can read under inspiration, the Apostle John in the 3rd John began to write. He said, in verse 9, verse 9 of 3rd John, it says, and I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, the one who loved to be the chief among them, does not accept us. Because of this thing, if I come, I will call him to account for the actions that he is practicing with evil words, maliciously berating us, and he is not satisfied with these things. For he himself neither receives the brethren, nor does he permit those who wish to receive the brethren, but he forbids them and casts them out of the church. Beloved, do not imitate which is evil, rather imitate that which is good. The one who practices good is of Elohim, but the one who practices evil has not seen Elohim. And so we can see that in the first century there were those who wanted to have positions. They wanted to be in, they wanted to have the know. They wanted to be able to say, this is what I believe, and cause divisions among the brethren in the first century. And as John said here, they wanted to be first. They had evil words. They were maliciously berating one another. But they would be held accountable for their actions.
That's right.
And so this really goes with that study in Ezekiel about the good shepherds and the bad shepherds. And so it's very important, and it's a very serious thing, because if a shepherd acts in a manner that he berates others, or if a shepherd does things that, if there are newly interested ones, and they come to the assembly, and there is an error about the way it's presented, or things or contentions that are brought out, you could lose those people. Those people could walk out the door and be totally turned off. And Joshua, he really pointed out that it would be better to put a millstone around your neck and be thrown into the sea versus stumbling these people. So we have to be extremely careful, brother, about how we treat one another and how we deal with one another.
Couldn't agree more.
Hey, Curtis.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to read along those lines on 1 Corinthians very quickly, 5:12. So it talks about how, we judge people who are on the inside, right? And not
Right.
on the outside. So let me read that. For what have I to do with judging those also who are outside? Do you not judge those who are inside? But those who are outside, Yahweh judges. Therefore, put away from yourselves the evil person.
That's right.
That was 1 Corinthians 5:12, right?
Yep, 5:12, 13.
1 Corinthians 5:12. That is really small.
As we read the likes of 2 Timothy 3, 1 Timothy 4, 2 Peter 3, we read of these evil men, these worthless shepherds, read of evil men going from bad to worse. So it's not exactly the same. No, it's from bad to worse. Now here we got James and Paul singing the blues about how bad it was at that time, that they would write this down. It would appear in our Bibles today. But it does say evil men are going from bad to worse. It does teach us that. That's the lesson. It was one of the lessons we get out of that, those passages. Now, I can't comprehend that just because I can't comprehend, men that bad going from bad to worse. My inability to comprehend it doesn't mean anything. That's from it is written. I either accept it and believe it, or I refuse it.
Curtis?
Yes,
Because
Raquel.
they'll be given over to their depraved mind. That's why they're going to get worse.
Well, then it's going to go over to the depraved mind, and eventually they get to believe in this stuff. What Dr. Cashflow, yes, started, Dr. Cashflow Dollar, yes, when he wrote his Rapture book, it was I reckon it was a way to make a quick buck, but evidently these people have come to believe it. They've ingrained it in themselves. Remember how the king of Israel was supposed to write his own copy of the Torah? That's correct. It was to engrave that in him. Well, when Dr. Cashflow Dollar, Cashflow Dollar wrote his rapture book? Well, what'd he do? Well, that's right, he came to believe his own lie. Just like the sons of Eli. They didn't see a problem with their conduct. The sons of Aaron didn't see a problem with their conduct. The scribes and Pharisees did not see a problem with their conduct. The children of Israel, when Israel went into captivity under the king of Assyria, right up to the very end, they didn't see a problem with their conduct. Neither did the house of Judah on 2 occasions with Babylon and Rome. Okay, Lisa, we need to go ahead and wrap up quickly, but go ahead, Lisa.
Just this is a thought. I keep coming back to the scripture here in Ezekiel 34:11, and when it's talking about the good shepherd, and he says, "For thus saith my sovereign Yahweh, behold, I, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out." So even though all this is happening, Yahweh doesn't forget about
Yahweh,
the sheep,
that's
and he will
correct.
find them, and
That
make sure
is
they're taken
correct.
care of.
And we can talk about the good shepherd next time, I reckon. We can, because all the rest of the chapter focuses on the good shepherd and his mission, and we can discuss that in of greater detail next time. Well, that concludes today's message, today's study, and we will be back at 1 o'clock next week, I believe. Johan, thank you, David. Johannes will be up for the study. Who? I didn't hear, David. Oh, Tino. Okay. Batter up. All right, Tino will be up first. Okay, good. So I've been wanting to hear something from Tino for a good while. So now, okay, so next week at 1 o'clock, Tino will be making his first trip up here, and we'll have, oh, that's right, he's our song leader today, too. So Tino, yes, close us out with some songs. Thank you.